We start off with The Nation in Nigeria. On the front page of The Nation newspaper, the big story says, federal government halts deduction of CBN's loans to states. NEC raises panel to review budget support repayment terms. Police, why we dispersed NSAS protesters. NDDC gets acting MD on board. US plans $1 million humanitarian aid for flood victims. And this is, of course, regarding the flood victims. We're hearing that the US consulate in Nigeria made this known in a statement, regretting, of course, the unusually heavy rainfall resulting in the flooding. 10 burnt to death in Lagos-Ibadan expressway explosion. You must have heard the story yesterday. That was a really sad one. APC presidential aspirants back Tinubu, says Adamu. Stage set for campaign council launch. Candidate unveils action plan today. Federal government won't tolerate strikes during transition period. Ngige warns unions. At the top of the paper, we have 3 more stories there. Stop your blackmail. Speakers tell Omo-Agege. Nigeria to launch Africa's first payment card January. CBN AMCON announced sale of Polaris Bank. And final story here, 45 days after UK Prime Minister Truss quits. Did you see the tweets about the lettuce lasting longer than Truss? Someone actually they did a live stream and put her photograph and put the lettuce, and they started to count down. This was before she announced her resignation, to see who will outlive who. And when she resigned yesterday, they say finally the lettuce outlived Liz Truss. That was.
There was also, there was a couple of them. There was also the ones where they, made a post about the 10 Downing Street being an Airbnb.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So you come and you you leave almost immediately.
Unfortunately, this has made her the shortest ever serving prime minister. But the one thing that I like from this, that I wanted to highlight, the positive part, was when she was tendering her resignation speech. She said that she's not able to deliver on the mandate as she promised, and as such she'll be resigning. If only all political leaders would be able to take a cue. You come, you realize this is above what I promised and I cannot fulfill my promise, and you step down.
But that's a very brilliant point. It's also one of the points that many people spoke about yesterday. So it may be the politically correct thing to say, for her. She might also have seen other reasons, that made her take that decision. But, left to us, she has said she realized that she couldn't meet up with her, promises, and so she's resigning. You would barely, in fact, I don't think in the history of the last 10 years across the continent, you have seen any leader, resign because they said, well, it doesn't seem likely I can make it with the promise that I made.
And they will still be dragging the position with you.
Someone even said yesterday that Liz Truss should simply have gotten social media influencers to gaslight the people in the UK that she's doing a great job and they really should stop fighting her. The same things that we see across the African continent, where a leader is a complete square peg in a round hole. But they instead would continue to sell these lies and gaslight the people into feeling like they really don't understand what they're talking about. One of them is some of the things that we'll be talking about later today. And of course, it's a statement that was made by someone concerning the flood in Nigeria. I hope that we get to talk about that later. But, leaders across the world need to be more accountable to the people. And I don't know what next with the UK. Maybe Boris Johnson will be back.
There are speculations of Boris Johnson coming back.
We'll see.
I guess we'll see. We'll find out next week.
All right.
That's all we can take this morning on The Nation.
Now let's go to first news here in Nigeria also. It says Buhari sacks NDDC administrator, Aqua, and also appoints board management team. NSA's second memorial. Protesters, police showdown at Lekki toll gate. Protesters display symbolic coffins, blood-stained flags during procession. Police fire tear gas, disperse protesters to prevent placement of dummy coffins at Lekki toll gate. And also, no protester in custody. Troublemakers kept for only a few minutes, says the PPRO. All right, let's also find other stories. PDP builds toilets with 12 million naira realized from forms. And also, more than 40 NSAS protesters still languishing in jail, says Amnesty International, as 32 others have been held in Lagos or your prisons 2 years after. 2023, Aregbesola, Namani, and Kalu dropped from Tinubu's campaign team. We can also find here, we apologize to Nigerians. We're not sure if this government has met their expectation. That's from the wife of the president, Aisha
What are they going
Buhari.
to step down? Are they going to be like their
like Liz Truss?
Yeah,
no, absolutely not.
Never.
But aside that, while she's saying this, the Minister for Information is saying something totally different. He's saying that Nigerians will be shocked at the great achievement of the current administration. So I'm not sure who
to believe.
Yeah, exactly.
And on the other breath, there are clips of her saying, as they pain them, they sweet us. And you're wondering, what is going on?
All right. 11 Southeast senators beg Buhari for Nnamdi Kanu's release. And also, Labour Party under attack. National chairman raises alarm. Just one or two others I can share. Well, we spoke about this already. UK Prime Minister resigns after 45 days in office. And I think that's all we'll take on the first news this morning.
All right, let's head over to Kenya. Let's look at the Daily Nation this morning. Mashujaa, of course, yesterday was Mashujaa Day in Kenya. President also laid down his grand economic revival plan and policies to implement his campaign manifesto. Ruto turns up heat on DCI crack squad. President Ruto wants investigations into activities of the disbanded Special Services Unit that has been accused of carrying out extrajudicial killings and action taken against those found culpable. This comes even as 21 detectives who served in the disgraced DCI crack unit were suspended, disarmed, and summoned for questioning. Of course, this just makes us realize that we are united together in pain. We're all struggling with the same thing: police brutality and extrajudicial killings. It's still a global problem. I don't think it's just a Nigerian or an African problem. New rules for Hustler Fund. If you want to find out what those rules are, on page 6. Now, other promises, the promises are listed right here. I probably cannot go into them. I'll just take like two of the promises. Build 200,000 houses per year. Put up a fertilizer manufacturing plant in partnership with East African community countries. Provide 6 million fertilizer bags to farmers for long rain seasons. If you want to read the other promises, get a copy of the Daily Nation. Cholera outbreak reported in 6 countries, or counties rather. Kenyans urged to be on high alert. The details of that on the back page. And final story, again, too hot to handle. After 45 days, Liz Truss throws in the towel as UK Prime Minister. What if they said Liz Truss tossed in? Truss. Okay, that's not working. That's all I can take this morning on the Daily Nation.
All right, let's go to South Africa now and see what's on the Sowetan. This morning it says, schools always out at arguably the worst school in Gauteng. With the appointment of an administrator almost at the end of the academic year, efforts to get the violence-ravaged TM Lethake functional again seem a little too late. And also this morning, ex-comrades eagerly push electoral bill through. That's on page 6. We can also find ghosting on a box star. And AM hard to pin down. That's on page 10. That's on a lighter note. But we can also find a picture there. Police shoot at crowd in Zandspruit along Bears Nord Drive during a standoff with local residents who demand undocumented foreigners to stop trading in the area. That's on page 2 of the Sowetan this morning. Not very many stories there.
So we're seeing the same repeated on the line.
Yeah, pretty much the same pattern.
About the police.
But maybe more accountability in some regions than they are, in others.